network, and cloud security. Now, please bear in mind that this is an overview of a very robust topic, but we do offer a collection of technical and business courses that can be tailored toward your specific requirements. If you're interested in a further discussion about any of those, you can make an appointment with our learning consultants through our website at www.netcomlearning.com. NetCom Learning helps customers build innovative learning organizations by achieving a smarter workforce, adopting change, and driving growth. And we do this with a broad catalog of offerings, developing customized learning plans, and our global delivery capabilities. Since 1998, we have been empowering organizations with our managed learning services to help them reach optimal performance results and address challenges. We have 9 practice areas in which we specialize, and they encompass people, process, and technology training. Today's presentation is from the security practice area. NetCom Learning offers a comprehensive training portfolio for security courses, and our upcoming classes include various trainings on EC Council CEH, Certified Ethical Hacking V12, CompTIA Pen Test Plus Certification Prep, exam PT0-002, CompTIA Security Plus Certification Prep, exam SY0-601, and many more. Now, also private training to teams is available, and those learning plans can be customized to the specific needs of that audience. And you can also access a variety of security marketing assets, such as the free 1-hour training, by clicking on the available webinar handouts, and these offerings can also be found with a simple search on our website at www.netcomlearning.com. Through this instructor-led webinar today, you will understand the importance of threat data and intelligence, and you will also learn to perform vulnerability management activities, implement controls to mitigate attacks and software vulnerabilities, and much more. And now I'm going to go ahead and pass that time over to Sheik to present today's topic. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you, Leila. Thank you so much. Let's get started here. Best practices to cybersecurity vulnerability assessment and solutions implementation. So the agenda for this webinar, we're going to discuss on importance of threat data and intelligence. We'll see introduction to vulnerability management activities. We'll see common vulnerability assessment tools, implementation of security measures, and then we'll have a question and answer session. So let's get started here. So before we discuss about vulnerability, so these are loopholes. We always try to search for those loopholes, whether it is for our organization, is it our personal system. We always try to reduce the attack surface. So we always search for those loopholes, that weakness. Every system has a weakness. Now, working in security does not mean that you say it is impossible. So if someone says I made my system so much strong that it's impossible to crack in or is impossible to break in, but I would say it's rather better to say that I made my system so much strong that it's very difficult. You cannot say impossible. I mean, it's still possible. We have attackers who are using a lot of techniques nowadays, and we have to defend our systems. So if we work in security, we make things difficult. So if my system is very strong, if I reduce the attack surface, and then I make my system very strong. So that's the objective here. So why we do vulnerability assessment? So vulnerability assessment is designed to find if there's any unpatched or exploitable vulnerabilities. Now, something which can get exploited, all right, something which can get misused. So giving the organization the opportunity to remediate those deficiencies before they are being discovered by a bad actor. We have already seen those, black hat hackers. So we work as white hat hackers. We work as ethical hackers. We try to find the vulnerabilities. We try to cover them before a bad actor, before a malicious actor is trying to discover those vulnerabilities and then misuse it. So we are going to understand what are the tools, what are the tactics, and what are the procedures. That's what we call TTP, which is used by a cyber criminal to breach networks. That means it's important to you got to regularly test your organization cybersecurity. So it is an ongoing process. Security is not like something we do today and we forget it, but it is a continuous process. We need to make our system strong. So we need to understand the TTP of a threat actor, because earlier or nowadays also we have signature based systems, but they were not able to discover those zero-day attacks. And still, if you have the definition of a virus, attacker might change his signature. So that's where we need to understand the TTPs of a threat actor so that we can have that particular kind of defense strategy. So vulnerability assessment is going to help you to protect your organization by providing visibility of security weakness and some sort of guidance to address them. So we need to first understand what kind of vulnerability is there in my environment before I can address it. Then I need to have some sort of control. But first thing is that I need to find what kind of vulnerability do I have in my environment. So that's what I'll be doing in vulnerability assessment. It helps with greater security insight, ongoing risk management, and the ability to meet regulatory obligations. Yes, that's important. If you have some sort of PCI DSS, or let's assume you have HIPAA, as per the guideline, we need to do vulnerability assessment. There are a lot of other reasons, but I found that these are some of the reasons why we need to have a proper vulnerability assessment. Now, how is vulnerability assessment different from vulnerability management? So vulnerability management is different from vulnerability assessment because vulnerability management is an ongoing process, while assessment is a one-time evaluation of a host or a network. So vulnerability assessment is a part of vulnerability management, but not vice versa. So that is the basic difference. Vulnerability management is, you know, it just involves, it's an ongoing process. But if we see assessment, it could be just one time. So that's the main difference between assessment and vulnerability management. Now, let's understand first, what is CTI, cyber threat intelligence? So if you see nowadays, we do threat hunting. So we are being proactive. Earlier, we were reactive. So when a virus, when a malicious software or malware gets in my environment, then I start understanding, or I start kind of I find a solution, or I start understanding how to deal with it. But we were reactive. Now we have to be proactive. If something affects your network, I need to see that it should not affect my network. So am I secure enough, whether it's WannaCry, whether it's whatever new kind of infections you have. So I need to make it sure. That's where we do cyber threat intelligence. So collection and analysis of information about threats and adversaries, those are the attackers. We're going to draw some pattern. It provides an ability to make decisions. We are being prepared. We try to prevent. We try to respond various cyber attacks, because we have seen, what kind of attacks can happen, and it's going to lead to a lot of great loss, and we need to prevent that loss. So we need to identify and mitigate various business risks. We are going to implement various advanced and proactive defense strategies. So CTI is collecting information about presumed attacks to understand what's the motive behind attacks, the approach they must follow, analyze this information for securing IT infrastructure of an organization in advance. So it's very important to understand what is the motive, why the attacker is attacking my organization, why not that organization, why he's attacking on the particular date, particular day, particular time, why that system, right? So if we start asking those questions, we'll be able to understand what's the motive of the attacker, what is going to achieve. Is he because he's a competitor? Is he because there is something which is very precious in the system? So what kind of attacker is he? Is he a script kiddie? Is he a kind of an attacker who knows a lot of scripting, JavaScript and all that? So we'll have that kind of defense if we understand what kind of attacker is he. So if we have data that is raw, that is huge, it doesn't have any context, it is unprocessed, it could be structured or unstructured, and we process the data, we get some information which is meaningful, and we process the information, we get intelligence, which is analyzed, which is interpreted, which is in-depth knowledge. It helps in decision making and response action. So that's where we go. From data we go to information, from information we go to intelligence, and if we have intelligence about threat actors, that's our cyber threat intelligence. Now, what is the importance? Threat intelligence is data that is collected, processed, and analyzed to understand a threat actor's motive, targets, and attack behavior. Threat intelligence enable us to make faster, more informed, data-backed security decisions and change the behavior from reactive to proactive in the fight against the threat actor. So you guys might have seen that we go from unknown to known. So first it is unknown to us. So if something is unknown to you, you will never know how to prevent yourself from that attack or how to prevent yourself from that threat. So that's what we do in threat intelligence. We go from unknown to known, something which is not known to us. Then we start knowing about it. Then we start having that kind of control. But first thing is that we need to see. So threat intelligence is evidence based about existing or emerging menaces or hazards to assets. Threat intelligence is going to help organizations of all shapes and size by helping process threat data to better understand attackers, respond faster to incidents. So this is very important. To respond to incidents, time is very important. As soon as possible, I want to come to normal as soon as possible with minimum resources. I need to utilize the resources, the limited resources, and proactively get ahead of a threat actor's next move. So we need to be prepared. If something happens in our environment, we need to have a strategy. Ensure you stay up to date with often overwhelming volume of threats, including methods, vulnerabilities, targets, and bad actors. So we are going to reduce the risk. That is the main objective, because if we understand what kind of threat actor is he, what kind of threats are happening, and then we can just try to close those vulnerabilities. So we're going to reduce the risk if we do CTI, cyber threat intelligence. Now, this threat data we can get from there are a lot of organizations like ISACs and all, which share that threat data. So we analyze that, or there are a lot of SIEM solutions which you guys might have seen. You get the data from them. You get threat feeds from different organizations nowadays. So we understand what kind of threats are happening in someone's environment, and then we start having a proper defense. So we're going to prevent some financial loss. Now, what are the benefits of threat intelligence to organization? It provides great insights into cybersecurity threats. It prevents data loss by identifying what's the cause of data leakage. It helps in it acts as a guidance in incident response. It conducts data analysis to identify what's the exploitable data. It helps in conducting threat analysis, detecting advanced threats. It helps in sharing threat information with others also. So it's very important. We are helping other organizations. So we take data from other organizations, we share this data with other organizations also. We identify what's the indicator of compromise, those artifacts, those clues which can help us to detect if something has already happened or it's happening, like an attack. These are those clues, these are those artifacts. So we are going to understand what's the TTP for possible attack. So these are the benefits of threat intelligence. An organization is going to prepare, know what to protect, know the threats. You define a defense strategy and target capabilities as an organization. You got to protect, harden the organization to make cyber attack difficult and more costly to execute, detect, obtain actionable visibility into attacks and other security incidents using monitoring and analytics to detect both known and unknown vectors. Then you respond and recover. Know how to effectively respond to incidents and breach and perform recovery. So this is how a threat intelligence can help your organization. Now let's understand what's the difference between vulnerability research and vulnerability assessment. So if we see about the vulnerability research, this is discovering vulnerabilities and design flaws. So vulnerabilities are classified based on the severity. Is it low, is it medium, is it high, or based on the exploit range, is it local vulnerability or is it remote? So an admin needs vulnerability research to gather information about security trends, threats, and attacks, gather information that help to prevent security problem. He might find a weakness and alert concerned person before a network attack, or to know how to recover from a network attack. And what is vulnerability assessment? This is the examination of the ability of a system or application to withstand an assault. So that's difference. Here in discovery, you're going to find the vulnerabilities, but here you're going to see if your system can withstand with the assault. So vulnerability assessment may be used to identify weakness that could be exploited, or you can also see effectiveness of any additional measures in protecting information from attack. That's why we do vulnerability assessment to see if we need some additional controls, predict effectiveness of additional measures in protecting information from attack. So that could be the reason of doing vulnerability assessment. Now, these are some databases which we can refer, like, we have CVSS, Common Vulnerability Scoring System, because if you see a lot of tools which you guys would have been using, like, Nessus, Nikto, OpenVOS, Nexpose, GFI LAN code. So those tools might try to get the score. They might refer to this table here, which is CVSS 3.0 is the latest one which we have. So they calculate score based on that calculator, CVSS calculator. So CVSS provides open framework for communicating the characteristics and impact of IT vulnerability. Its quantitative model ensures repeatable, accurate measurement while enabling users to view the underlying vulnerability characteristics used to generate the score. We also have CVE, Common Vulnerability and Exposure. It's a publicly available and free-to-use list or dictionary of standardized identifiers for common software vulnerabilities and exposure. Like, every vulnerability has an ID, CVE ID. So you can search more about the vulnerability with its ID. Or you also have a National Vulnerability Database. It's a US government repository of standards-based vulnerability management data represented using SCAP protocol. These data enable the automation of vulnerability management. You can use it for security measurement and compliance. NVD includes database of security checklist reference, security-related software flaws, misconfigurations, product names, and impact metrics. Or you also have CWE, a category system for software vulnerability and weakness. It is sponsored by National Cybersecurity, which is owned by MITRE, with support from US CERT and National Cybersecurity Division of US Department of Homeland Security. It has almost 600 categories of weakness, which enable CWE to be effectively employed by community as a baseline for weakness identification, mitigation, and prevention efforts. So these are some type of vulnerabilities. Like, if you have some sort of misconfiguration, it could be a vulnerability, or the default installation. So we need to customize it. Like, you get a router, you get any device, it has a default username and password, or any buffer overflow, right? So if there's a particular buffer which is the storage defined for any data, you store more than what it can keep, so that data can overflow to some other storage which could be meant for some other data, or unpatched servers which are not patched, design flaws, design weakness, operating system weakness, application weakness, or open services, default passwords. So these are some types of vulnerabilities or loopholes. If you want to search for any loopholes in your environment, you got to search for these vulnerabilities. Now, these are the different types of vulnerability assessment, like active assessment. Here you use a network scanner to find host, services, and vulnerabilities, like Nmap or HPing3. Passive assessment used to snip the network traffic to discover present active systems, network services, applications, and vulnerabilities, like Wireshark or TCP dump, or which you can use here. Or external assessment, assess the network from hackers' perspective to discover exploits and vulnerabilities that are accessible to the outside world. Or internal assessment, you scan the internal infrastructure to discover exploits and vulnerabilities to prevent from some insider attack. Or host-based assessment, you conduct a configuration level check to identify system configuration, use directories, file systems, registry settings to check the possibility of a compromise on a host. Or network-based, possible network security attacks that occur on organization systems. Or application assessment, test and analyze all elements of web infrastructure for any misconfiguration, outdated content, or known vulnerabilities. So like web apps or anything, you just use Aquanalytics or any other such tool where you're going to find if your web app is vulnerable to cross-site scripting, or maybe cross-site request forgery, SQL injections, all that. Or database assessment, here you test the database such as MySQL and all for the presence of data exposure or injection type vulnerabilities. Wireless network assessment, vulnerabilities in the organization's wireless network. Distributed assessment: assess the distributed organization assets such as client and server applications simultaneously through appropriate synchronization techniques. Or credential assessment: here you supply your credentials. Assess the network by obtaining the credential of all machines present in the network. Now, what's the benefit? You're going to find all the vulnerabilities, but your credentials might get leaked. And non-credential is assess the network without acquiring any credentials of the asset present in the enterprise network. Manual assessment: in this type of assessment, ethical hacker manually assess the vulnerability ranking. That's what we call pen testing, right? But here what it says, like, it's a manually, when we do vulnerability assessment, we use some sort of tools. It's always automated. So in this type of assessment, ethical hacker employs various tools such as NASS, Qualys, GFI, LandGuard, and all. So these are some types of vulnerability assessment. And these are some tools. I have been using Nessus, I have been using Qualys, GFI LandGuard, OpenWAS. I have been using all of these tools. And Qualys, it's a cloud-based service that offers immediate global visibility into ICT system areas that might be vulnerable to the latest internet threats and how to protect them. It helps in continuous identification of threats and monitoring of unexpected change in a network before they become breach. Nessus, it has got a free version, or you also have a test version which you can use for 15 days, or I guess 30 or 15 days, and then try to see the business, the professional one. An assessment solution for identifying the vulnerabilities, configuration issues, and malware. I think for 15 systems there's a free version also. The GFile LandGuard, it does more of a patching also, scans, detects, assess, and rectify security vulnerabilities in network and connected devices. You got OpenVAS, Open Vulnerability Assessment Solution, a framework of several services and tools offering a comprehensive and powerful vulnerability scanning and vulnerability management solution. Or NICTO, this is for Linux. You have a web server assessment tool that's going to examine a web server to find potential problems and security vulnerabilities. These are some other tools. You have a Qualys free scan, you have Aquanetics. I have been using it, very nice tool for web apps or web servers. Or Microsoft Baseline Security Analyzer is being replaced by some other tool. Or Base-Secure, Nexpose is there. This is those guys who discovered or who designed Metasploit, which we use to do attacks. Or Core Impact, NStack, or SANT. It's a very nice tool. You can give it a try, and you also have a free version which you can see how it looks, and then you can decide which one to use. But I've been using these tools: Nessus, OpenVAS, Qualys, and all, NICTO. Now, choosing a vulnerability assessment tool. So vulnerability assessment tool are used to test a host or application for vulnerability. So choose the tool that best satisfies the following requirement. It can test from dozens to 30,000 different vulnerabilities depending on the product. It can contain a lot of hundreds of different attack signatures. It matches your environment, and also you understand how to use the tool. It has accurate network application mapping and pen test. It has several regularly updated vulnerability script for platform that you are scanning. It also can generate reports, so you can easily share that with other teams. It checks different level of pen test in order to prevent lockups and ensure that it doesn't damage your network or system while running, right? It can also happen. Those intrinsic, or extrinsic tools could be also there. Understand the functionality and decide on the information that needs to be collected before beginning. Decide source location of the scan, taking into consideration the information that needs to be collected. It has, and also enable logging every time a computer is scanned, and users should scan their system frequently for vulnerability. So these are some good practices. Apart from choosing the vulnerability assessment tool, I also included some good practices starting from here. Now, after that, we need to implement some security measures. So develop a cybersecurity strategy for your organization. A cybersecurity strategy is a high-level plan for how your organization will secure its assets during the next maybe 3 to 5 years. Create a detailed cybersecurity policy. A policy could be the standards of a behavior for activities such as encryption of email activity, restrictions on the use of social media. So you can have a policy like firewall policy, router policy, switch policy, acceptable use policy, a good behavior policy, anything. Backup and encrypt your data is very important. We got to use multi-factor authentication because we have seen password attacks. Passwords are not secure. So create a secure password and keep them safe. These are some best practices. use the principle of least privilege. We give only the privilege what that user needs, not more than that. Like, on the cloud we have role-based access controls. We need to know who is accessing your data, educate your, or we got to give some training to our employees, awareness, keep all the software and apps up to date. Do not underestimate hackers. It's very important. Like, most of the times we should not underestimate those hackers. And three things are important here. Like, if I need to access a resource, and this is a resource, and for me, three things are very important. One, I need to see who is trying to access this resource. What kind of role does he have? Is he a normal user? Is he advanced user? Is he super user? So who this guy is, I need to understand. And what is the criticality? How much is the criticality of the resource? Is it critical? Is it normal? I need to check this also. And what channel is he using? So these three things are very important for me. Like, who is trying to access, what he's trying to access, and how. Like, who, how, and what. Okay, who is trying to access, what he's trying to access, and how he's trying to access. So these things are very important. And now if I talk about the recommended certification, so I would say,
I want to give the presentations rights over to Joby, and he is our VP for vendor operations. He's going to introduce our promotions and webinar related courses. Are you with us, Joby?
Yes, Leela. All right. Thanks, Sheik, once again for taking us all through yet another critical topic in cybersecurity, which is vulnerability management. And we are glad that you could give us the last 20 to 30 minutes and explaining at least a bird's eye view on what does it take to manage vulnerability for your organization. I'm sure our learners or our participants of this webinar today have learned a lot from this and are encouraged to look at this as an opportunity to gain additional skills or maybe as a career option as well. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being part of this webinar once again. I will not take too much of your time, but just to help you enhance your learning journey, I would like to take you through some of those resources or offerings which NetCom Learning offers to you, which you can take advantage of. Since Sheikh was talking about CEH version 12, I just want to, apart from what he has said, obviously, those great things about the Certified Ethical Hacker version 12, there are a few more things as NetCom we are offering for all the learners who would be interested to take this up in the near future. So we are offering a special package when it comes to Certified Ethical Hacker version 12. Obviously, the courseware and the labs come as part of it. The examination voucher for CEH and for practical CH practical will be bundled into this. And apart from this, we will also give you ethical hacking video courses. You can take part in CH Engage and CH Challenge as well. Exam preps. Now we all know that, why do we go through these trainings and courses? Because we need to be certified. We want to be we want to have that credential with us, right? So you would be keen on examination. So we'll give you exam prep as well. And we'll also give you up to 4 retake examination just in case. If you take training from NetCom, we are sure that you would not need these many retakes, but just in case there's a scenario where you need more than one, at no additional cost, we would be offering you for a retake examinations. So that's about what I thought. I'll continue with the CHV12 so that the flow remains and you're able to gather. So please do visit us at www.netcomlearning.com and you could search for CHV12, go onto that page and you'll get all the information which is there. And this is a special package which is being offered by NetCom for any of you or for your teams. If you want to, you're looking at CHV12, you could utilize this as well. Right. So apart from this, many of you would be leaders within your organization, managing teams, and you will be managing your annual training budgets for your organization, or at least for your teams as well. So if that is the scenario, we have few great offerings for your reference. And the first one which we want to present is called Learning Savings Passport. This primarily is a value-based purchase in which you invest on a certain value, and NetCom offers some amount of discount or a saving. So for example, if you take up the premium product, which is worth $75,000, you get additional $45,000 worth of classes. Now, how does this work? Each of our courses have a certain price. Based on those prices, you can pick and choose and assign trainings for your team members, for yourself, and within 1 year you're free to consume all that, and you can consume these trainings. Now, if you go by one, purchase one by one for each of your employees or your team members, there's a possibility that you might end up spending maybe $120,000. However, if you take this learning passport, you can use the same value of 120,000, but in reality you only pay $75,000. And you can choose between instructor-led or virtual instructor-led or private training as well. So this is the savings passport, which is value-based. We have a voucher passport as well, which is basically on number of days training. So you may have 10 team members who must be undergoing different kinds of IT trainings. You could pick any of those courses. About 4,000 different courses are being offered as part of this. You can select for your employees, and different courses have different durations. Some of them are 1 day, or some of them are 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, or 5 days. So if you pick, let's say, 50 days as part of this package, you could assign those select those courses and consume based on that. Again, here there is savings which you see on the screen as well. So this is the Learning Passport. Another offering of ours is a subscription platform. Now here what we offer is at a very low cost of $2,999 per learner for your team members for a duration of 1 full year. They can have unlimited access to these subscription courses. There are more than 250 e-learning courses and about 140 in virtual instructor-led courses, which you can register and get those trainings done for yourself or for your team members. And this is again, if you are keen on it, there are higher value discounts available. If let's say if you have more than 10 people who are looking at the subscription, this could be a great tool at a very, very affordable cost to look at these trainings. So uh, you can decide the schedule. We do have schedules on our website. You can select the schedules for different employees, can choose different schedules for different various courses, any one or as many of them as they can. You have access to all of these 250 e-learning courses and 140 virtual instructor-led courses. Right, so just maybe 2-3 more minutes. We all know that October is celebrated as the Cybersecurity Awareness Month or Cybersecurity Month globally, and NetCom is also celebrating Cybersecurity Month. And as part of this, we want to present our security awareness solution to all of you. Now, this is the platform which we offer, which has got phishing simulations, email simulations, voice calls, and SMS messages as well. You could do phishing simulations on your team members, within your organization, and you could also train them, provide them training on different topics. We have more than 100 different courses which you can assign to your team members and do it. And as part of the Cybersecurity Month, we are offering a 10 days free trial. So please do visit us at netcomlearning.com and visit our cybersecurity awareness training page. and you could register for it, and no questions asked, we will give you a free trial. You don't have to share your credit card details or nothing. Just enter your details. We'll get in touch with you and share those credentials to experience this platform which we're talking about. And if any of you are leaders within your organization, you have been using a similar cybersecurity awareness solution. In fact, I recall Sheikh telling us earlier today that you might be part of PCI DSS, you might be part of maybe ISO or any other compliance or regulatory mechanisms. This is one of those mandates which is there, that employees must be trained on cybersecurity awareness. Now, this is a beautiful tool at a negligible cost, which comes to you. So please reach out to us, and we will be glad to assist you in your cybersecurity awareness training journey. And EC Council CH, we have already heard about it. There are a few more resources which are available at NetCom's website. Of course, we have 4,000 plus courses and certifications. We do run a lot of virtual events, free 2-hour trainings on different various topics. We do have experts who come in and write blogs for us. So we have blog section, which could be a good knowledge gainer for all of you. And savings programs and promotions, we have section on our website. Please do visit us to learn more about it. Once again, thank you all for attending this event. We hope it was a useful session. Look forward to hearing from you again. I would now hand over the stage to Leela. Leela, over to you.
Thank you so much. I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen again real quick. As promised, we are going to get into our question and answer session. We want to thank you so much for joining us and for all that information, Joby. We'll get right into these questions. And I think this first one is more, hopefully you're still on here, Joby, more geared towards you. Is there any sort of certificate of participation or continuing education credits for today's webinar?
Unfortunately, not for today's webinar, but then if you could mention or add in your comments and specify your requirement. First of all, one, we could run a program for your choice, which would include CEPs. But at the same time, not for this event, but there are other events on our web or on our portal which are eligible for this. So please do visit us on our website.
Thank you so much. Okay, and our next question I am seeing is there any relevant certification for threat analysis?
We do have a certificate from EC Council. We do have CTIA, Certified Threat Intelligence Analyst. Yes, that is what you can go for, because that in that certification you're going to understand all the techniques, how you collect the data, how you process the data, and how you share the data. So there are a lot of tools, a lot of labs. So that is one of the certification which we have from EC Council, CTIA, Certified Threat Intelligence Analyst.
Thank you. Okay, our next question. So Sheikh mentioned that there were tools that were safe and unsafe for systems earlier. Which are some of the unsafe tools that we should avoid?
Unsafe in the sense, you see, there are a lot of considerations in that case. So I would say, when I say unsafe, I mean, like, there are some of the tools which can put a lot of kind of pressure on your server. So in that case also, you need to see, like, what's your downtime and all that. So I mean to say that it's not like you might be running those tools when all the employees are working, so that can affect them. So what I mean is, like, you need to have a downtime for that, because they might put a lot of stress, and you need to kind of understand your business and all that in that case. So if I talk about the safe tools, all of them are like Nessus, Nikto, or maybe OpenVAS or GFI LandGuard. I have been using them, so they did not have any such effect. But I would say, like, you need to understand your business also, like, what kind of business you have, understand the environment, and then accordingly you can decide when you want to run them, when you need to have a downtime and all that.
Thank you. Our next question, how is vulnerability analysis different from pen testing?
All right, so vulnerability analysis, what we do, this is the question which we hear most of the times, when you do pen testing, they always say, if you already do vulnerability analysis, then why you go for pen testing? So what happens in the vulnerability analysis, we are going to run some tools automatically. It's going to scan our environment. It's going to find the vulnerabilities based on the criticality. Is it low? Is it medium? Is it high? But when you do a pen testing, you're going to find those loopholes, you are going to test them, you're going to simulate them, you're going to run an attack, you're going to see what's the loss, so you get actual value. So I would say vulnerability assessment and pen testing go together as VAPT. Yes, pen testing is also required, because that is something which our managers are interested in, because they want to hear what would be loss in dollars, right? So it just gives you that kind of an idea. Like if you do vulnerability analysis, it might give you an idea, like what's the severity, is it low, medium, or high? But when you do pen testing, you're going to get an idea like what will be the loss in dollars. That's why you have a defense strategy, accordingly.
Thank you. Okay, and I think this one, either of you could probably answer it, but they wanted to know if we provide certifications related to AWS Cloud for students. Joby, do you want to take this one?
Of course, that's in fact, as I was mentioning about NetCom's capabilities, we offer more than 4,000 courses and Amazon Web Services or AWS courses. All of them, whichever is in the offering right now, is being offered by NetCom. In fact, if you visit our website, there are more than 100 e-learning courses which are completely free of cost from AWS, which you can access and go through, no payments required, and it is there. But of course, AWS cloud related courses and certifications, of course, we do offer. And if you could mention your interest, we could have our colleagues to give you a call, or maybe send you an email with all the details of what is our offering and which are those options which you can opt for. You could definitely use it.
Thank you so much. Okay, looks like we just have a couple more questions, and we do have some time still to take those. If there is any one tool which you would recommend for vulnerability analysis, what would it be and why?
For me, I would say that I have seen, like, I've been traveling, I've been interacting with a lot of people, but I do see there's a good feedback for Nessus. The reason being that, if you run a Nessus, in that you can scan your environment, either a remote machine or you're the machine which you're running on. So you can scan also a remote machine, and based on the particular vulnerability, like, if I want to scan my server based on the SQL injection, or based on like, it has got a lot of options. So Nessus is one tool which I have been using, and I've also seen a lot of people or a lot of organizations using that tool for vulnerability analysis, because we got a lot of customization, we got a lot of options there. It just gives us a lot of reports in a nice way, which we can share with other teams. So that's the one tool. If I would have to choose one, I would go for Nessus.
Thank you. Okay, looks like we got one more question in our queue, and then we will go ahead and wrap up today. So, how difficult is CEH V12, and what are the prerequisites, and how do you prepare for the exam?
Right. So if we talk about CHV12, because I started it with CEHV8, I guess, yeah, V9, V10, 11, 12. So I would say that it is not that difficult once we plan it properly, because there are 20 modules which we need to complete. So if you attend official training for 5 days, and then you can spend a little bit of time, like I would say, like, next 3 weeks, or maximum like 2 or 3 weeks, just going through all the 20 modules, going through all the labs, and doing a practice questions. So having a proper plan is very important. It's not that difficult, but if we have a kind of an overconfidence, like, we might fail in this exam. So the only thing is that if we do properly, if we prepare for this exam properly, because 20 modules, we need to plan it accordingly. It should not be that difficult. It should be easy once we have a proper plan in mind.
Thank you so much. And once again, we want to thank you all for joining us today. If you do come up with any additional questions, feel free to send them to us at webinar@netcomlearning.com at any time. And we hope that you all found today's webinar to be informative. We look forward to seeing you back here with us very soon. And also feel free to tell your friends and colleagues about our webinars and other courses. Once again, thank you everyone and have a great day.